Hey gun people, crazy cop story on canines. Since I just did a video on bomb dogs and they're missing, etc., I figured I'd follow up. I had a couple canine crazy cop stories. So as a canine handler, when you're overseas and everywhere, part of our job when we're walking around, we're looking for people robbing and stealing. We're on foot, we're a little bit quieter, it's easy for us to hide. We have our dog, we're working under darkness, we're checking people that's trying to gain access to the base perimeter, etc. So we're moving around and doing a lot in the middle of the night, and we're on our own with our dog. Well, part of our responsibilities was to make sure that in order to cut down on the thefts and people breaking into buildings, if we work by buildings, we were supposed to check them periodically to make sure stores or something. And so it's kind of like the old guy on the beat. You used to go and check the doorknobs and make sure the town was locked up. Well, canine handlers kind of do that when we get to buildings. So in the military, when we would find open buildings in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning, we couldn't just lock it and move on. Every building on a military installation has somebody who's called a building custodian, and they're responsible for that building. They're responsible to make sure it's open on time, it closes on time, it's secure, all the locks work, etc. So when we find a building, we have to notify that person. That person has to respond, and they have to secure the building. They make a walkthrough, make sure it wasn't burglarized, nothing's missing. We get their info, they secure the building, and we leave, and we go on about our business. Hell, I just thought I heard something. I wonder if that was a chicken jumping on something. So anyway, so that's kind of what we did. Well, what we used to do in the military, because we were bored and we call somebody at 1 o'clock in the morning, you know, the building custodian would be, a lot of them would be like pissed off, you're waking me up. Why didn't you find this building earlier at 7 or 8? You know what? I didn't happen to check it till now, and I was walking by it now. That's why I found it at 1 or 2 in the morning. It slowed down, it was busy, we weren't doing anything else, so I was checking buildings and I found yours insecure. So they would be pissed off, so a lot of times they would take their time getting out there. It might be an hour or two before they came out and got us. So while we were in there, we were killing time. And normally when it was cold out, if we found an insecure building, all the other guys that were out there walking around in the cold would come gather in the insecure building because we could warm up. So sometimes we'd have 3 or 4 dog handlers in one building, bullshitting, playing spades, whatever, waiting for the building custodian. Well, more than once, we would get on the chairs that you sit on with the wheels, you know, that you slide in and out of your desk, I got wheels, and we would drag them out to the hallways of these buildings, and we would sit on the chair and tell our dog to get. So one of the other dog handlers would secure his dog in one of the rooms, and he would be down there, and we would call this training. So we would sit there and we'd do a little training, get the dog jacked up, he'd come in, act suspicious, ha ha ha, and the dog would be like, on the slick floor scratching, and we'd sit there and we'd give our little speech, police, stop or I'll release the dog, and the dog would be like, oh shit, I'm gonna get a bite, so he'd get all excited, we're sitting on the chair, and then all of a sudden we'd pick our feet up, and that dog would just go, and the other handler would run, and we would see how far you could get by hanging on your dog and staying in the chair, because when they got going fast, when they made that corner, the dog would slide into the wall, you'd slide into the wall. I mean, it was, and of course, if somebody got bit, we were doing this, we'd have our butt in a jam, but, you know, type A, risk takers, we're out there goofing off, that's what we do. That's what guys do, okay? We don't all wear pink panties and run around and go, oh, we should just read a book and be nice, passive, whatever. So anyway, we're doing this shit goofing off, and I remember more than once, either I fell or someone else fell, and either you're being the running guy or you're being letting the dog drag you around on the chair sitting on your ass. And as you make the corner, you fall and you either accidentally drop the leash or the leash comes off your hand and the dog is free. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit! Hey, I dropped the leash! And the dude's running like, shit, call him out! And you're like, ow, ow! But the dog, you know, you've already jacked him up, and he's ran and skid, he's down. So he's like, screw you, I'm getting my bite. So more than once, a handler or a guy that was running had to duck into the building or climb up on a bookshelf and say, call your dog! And then you'd have to get up, get over there, grab your leash, and twerk on him. So that's just one of the crazy cop stories with canine. Another one that I remember specifically, and we did this a few times, when I was working on one of the agencies in California, one of my buddies was canine, so I'd come out and train with his dog a lot, because he knew I did dogs, so I'd come out, I'd drive my POV, I'd let him pull up behind me, we'd be out in an abandoned area, he would turn on his lights, because the dogs learn when the lights come on, something's about to happen, So he'd turn on his lights, hits his siren, and all of a sudden his dog's like, uh-oh, something's going to happen. The dog starts getting his, what we call classical conditioning. He's learned every time the lights come on, the siren goes, I usually get yanked out of the car and chase somebody, get a bite, do something. So they learn when these two things happen, what's going to happen next. So he gives him those two cues, hits the siren, lights, the dog gets all excited. I jump out of the car and I run in the building. And this is pre-planned. I talk to him. I've got a radio. And I've got a rap on. And then he'll get out of the car and I'll go in the building and hide. And then he'll go up to the door and do training. You know, he'll go in the door. So-and-so, please. Come out with your hands up. You don't release the dog. The dog's sitting there, rah, 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 trying to get in. He's getting all excited. And that's good. We want him to. We want him jacked up. We want him to know that he's going to go and find somebody. And then he'd let his dog loose. His dog come in and find me and bite me. I'd have a wrap on and we'd do training. So this one night, I've got some blanks in my in a 38, and I'm going to do some gunfire training because we fire guns and we're training the dogs to attack so they're not scared of gunfire. So we're cruising around, and I see him, and he knows I'm coming out, but I haven't really talked to him yet. So I see him driving, and as I drive by, he waves, and I go, and I floor it. So I take off, and he's like, okay, this must be the train. So he pops on his lights, and he starts following me. And we go around this kind of, what I'll say is a shit area of the city. And so there's some people outside, shit, they don't know what the hell's going on. And I know somebody's going to be, that's dangerous. Somebody could have shot you. Ain't nobody going to help the cops. I wasn't worried about getting shot by some citizen, some good citizen, not in the area I was at. So anyway, he pulls up behind me. I get out of the car. Fuck you! Bang, bang, bang! And he puts on the radio, doing training out here with K9 Gunfire in case you get any calls. So he lets them know that if they get any calls if somebody's out here shooting, they know it's training. So I'm firing off rounds. They're loud. Blinks are loud. Dog's cut. He lets the dog loose. I run around the corner. Dog jumps on me. And when a dog bites you, even though it doesn't hurt, you want to act like it hurts. You want to act like a real suspect's going to do. So I'm kicking the dog in the belly lightly with the back of my foot, very lightly, just enough so he gets used to being kicked. I'm screaming, I'm slapping him on the nose. Ah! Get him off, stop, you fucking cops! And so I'm doing everything a bad guy will do. And I've just shot the gun. And we did this, and there was a couple of dudes on bikes, probably a couple little gangbangers. When I first got out, they had that like, yeah, he's running from the cops. And then when they let that dog out, those two dogs like, oh shit! And they got the hell out of here. Now somebody's gonna say, what happens if the dog would attack them? Look, dogs aren't stupid. They know who to focus on. I got a guy out here, the handler's yelling at me, and I'm firing a gun. The dog knows. There's also target acquisition. Before I release my dog, I'm supposed to know what he's targeted on. And if my dog is barking over here at these people, and the bad guy's here, and I let my dog go, well, I'm an idiot. Because my dog, I know, is not target focused on who I want. But if my dog is here, and he's trying to get this guy, and I let him loose, once he locks on, he's going to the right guy. And if the dog had went somewhere else, I'd have fired the gun again, and the dog would have looked at me and came back to me. But you learn, as the more you train dogs, you learn their dispositions, you learn their weaknesses and their strength, you learn what you can do. There's some dogs, when they hit me, I'd lay on the ground. I've got a picture of me laying on a dog with a Rottweiler on top of my chest, and I'm fighting him, and he's biting, and I would do that with him because I knew him. There were some dogs I would not go on the ground with, because if you went on the ground, they would come off and get you in the gut or get you in the leg. So I don't want to go on the ground, and you learn that just over time. Sometimes these dogs will trick you. They're biting, and they'll try to come off the wrap and come around your leg, and you got to be pretty quick to get that wrap around, defend yourself, to make sure that wrap stays between you and the dog. And that all comes with experience of catching a lot of dogs and getting a bit a few times. But anyway, those are a couple of crazy cop stories with canines that we used to have fun and do stupid shit, and you do it now and shit, and they probably lock you away as a domestic terrorist. All right, we'll end that there.